is sheet glass made? I've always heard glass is sand.
Well, it's a molten. They have a big, huge molten pit. And that molten pit, as the molten comes out of the pit on one side, and the other side, they pull in new product, and that comes off the line at different thicknesses. So if you've never seen it, that stuff comes off the line at 60 feet a second. And they're cutting it as they cut it with a laser. The glass is taken at the end of the line, then it's flipped up and it cools, it flips up and lays it into cases. So in the industry, for guys like me, they have to cut the glass just a little differently because we need it smaller, like 48 by 130s.
How big are these sheets coming off the machines?
They're about 165 by 203, and some of it's 230. The furnaces today are so big and so long, they can put longer pieces of glass in, which is nice for us. But the factories love the big stoche packs because the factories will just optimize and cut the glass and then take it from his part here in town, and then they can cut it, temper it, make it into insulated units or whatever they need to make it into.
Where do they make glass?
Well, we buy from our suppliers here in town from Mexicali. Vitro Glass is in Mexicali, and then we have some factories in Guardian has factories in California, and then back in the Midwest. Some of the factories have closed, and some of them had just turned into automotive glass only because the demand for automotive glass is out of control, or was out of control. But hopefully that's going to get back into production.
And you can't plane glass. So you set the machine. I want 1/8-inch plate. Now I want 3/16 plate. Now I want 1/4-inch plate.
Right. And the factory has to run 24/7, 365. You can't stop the molten it won't stop because if it cools, it's over.
You're cooked.
You're done. You're done. You're out there using a jackhammer trying to get that stuff out of the pit.
Interesting. 24/7.
They're making glass constantly.
Very cool. Now,
go ahead.
On the cooling process, how long does that take for it to be cooled and then make its way onto a truck for shipment?
It doesn't take long to cool. As it goes down the line, it's cooling as it's going down the line, and then it's cut and prepared to go into a case.
And is it already clear, or does it clear up once it's cooled?
It's clear once it comes out.
From the molten. It's already clear.
It's already clear coming out. It's just, yeah. The only thing that's ever is when they make windshields. The windshields, when they make them, they cut them and they look white, and then they put them in the clave, and the clave cleans them up and turns them into clear glass.
All right. So the plant is rolling these sheets off that roughly sound like about 10 by 16 or 10 by 20 feet. Mm-hmm. Where do those big sheets go from there?
They come to, like for example, they'll come into town here to Old Castle Glass. That'll go to True Light Glass, and to most of the big plants in town here that make windows. And the window companies, they cut up a tremendous amount of glass. They used to bring it in and have it pre-cut ready for them, but because of the sizes and the different things that are going on today, they're not doing as much as that. They're just bringing the glass in, cutting it here in town. So it's getting a lot more optimized, and it's a lot more efficient. And for companies like us, there's the glass companies in town. We buy cases of glass, but our cases are 48 by 130, 60 by 130s, and then in the single and double strength, which is becoming extinct here a little bit. The single strength glass, they're trying to get rid of it, because there's very few single pane windows anymore. Uh-huh. They don't make them anymore because everything's dual pane. So now they would love to get rid of it, but we still cut a lot of single strength glass.
And all that cut glass, obviously you end up with leftovers. When the shipment comes to drop off glass, do you send the old glass back with them? Did they remolt it?
Nope, they just throw it in the trash can, take it to the dump. There's no recycling. The recycling process right now is so bad that you get $10 a ton. And so it's really not a cost-effective way of recycling at this time.
And a big part of that, like all recycling, there has to be a market for that product afterwards. If there's
Right.
no market for it, there's no recycling for it.
No, and car windshields, when they break, because they have plastic in between the two pieces of glass, they have no way to recycle that. So it just goes into the landfill.
Well, that's the other thing about glass is just how many we think glass and we think of this picture window, or we think maybe of a breakfast room counter tabletop, a mirror in the bathroom, but I mean it's various widths. I want solar gray, I want bronze tint, I want low E. You know, I mean, what are there's no limit to the different options of types of glass.
There's no limits. The issues is just getting that kind of glass. Like right now, we're having issues getting bronze glass and gray glass. They're making only 1/4 inch. They're really not making the heavy 3/8 and 1/2 inch right now for whatever reason. It's hard to find. And even some of the darker gray light, we call it midnight gray, some of that glass, we're having some issues getting it, but not as bad as it was. But people are now just going back to clear. Clear is the number one flavor of the week.
All right. So at your glass shop, you deal with a lot of windows. I imagine you deal with a lot of furniture. You deal with a lot of mirrors. Okay. Give me a schooling on mirrors.
Well, mirror is a process where we do get some mirror from California. A lot of mirror comes from Taiwan. Some of it we don't buy the stuff from China. It's too hard to bring it in. Not to bring it in. It is too hard to cut. They bring when you go to cut it, it just takes off and runs on you. So a lot of the mirror we buy is from California. It's a process where you have to go in and have to scrub the mirror, scrub the glass, really clean it, and then they do what they call a 4-part paint on it. So the first layer is silver. Then they come back and they run a coat of paint across it, and then they let that, and then the paint comes back again and does it 4 times. And at that point, it is then flipped up and taken off the line, pre-cut to whatever size they wanted to do it. Or a lot of times they just bring the raw glass in at a certain size, and they just make 100,000 pieces of 48 120s. What's happened in the market today is that back in the old days, the mirror would go black at the bottom of your vanity.
Sure.
Because of the moisture,
Sure.
the humidity. Nowadays, with the good paint on there, we don't have that problem like we used to. People bring in mirrors.
And once that starts, there's no saving that mirror.
There's no saving the
it's
mirror.
It's done. Yep.
The interesting part of it, now they give us a service charge for the silver, because silver back in the day was five troy ounces, or a troy ounce was like $5. Now it's 25. So they're charging us a surcharge for the silver ring because it's getting a little expensive.
Now, is it any harder to cut? Because, 1/8 inch plate glass really is pretty simple. It's just a glass cutter. You scribe it and pop. It's done. But does that film on the back make a mirror any?
No, we
cuts the same way?
Cut the same way. We do it every day. It's no big deal.
I want to talk a little bit about glass as furniture, and certainly that's not 1/8 inch, is it?
No, usually glass on top of furniture. We do 1/4 inch glass. It just seems to hold up a lot better when so you put your glass on your glasses or whatever you put on there, a lamp, computer printer, some stuff like that. When we go thicker, it's just a look. 1/4 inch is very effective, and it does it. We cut thousands of pieces of glass a month just for countertops and mostly nightstands.